Hey there, sports fans. How we doing? Well, the Challenge Cup semis are over, and I'm back with a fresh cut and some stale ideas on what we learned over the weekend. That's right, four teams, two winners, one nearly there, and one massive loser, but we'll get to the coaches later on. We're going to start out with my number one thing that we learned this week, my lesson, if you will, is Harry Smith is back, and so are Wigan. You'll have to excuse me on this one because it's going to be difficult for me to say. And I think it's probably difficult for a lot of people to hear. But Harry Smith is back, and so are Wigan. That's right. This unassuming sort of Dilbert extra looking guy, Harry Smith, lad from Widnes, massively opened up Wigan's attack at the weekend, and you could just tell there were going to be a different team with him in from the start. I think every single end to a set that they had looked to be some kind of attacking play. There was something on. Everyone was different. There were no sort of repeated old tools that they were going to. Wigan's attack just gelled, and honestly, I think he made a really good sort of stab at being that missing piece. Of course, people are still going to look to Bevan French because he's a superstar. But I think at the weekend, Harry Smith probably made a really good go at being England's scrum half again at the end of the year. Obviously, we've got Jake Connor, and that battle will happen this week. But Harry Smith had a good idea. I'm just going to remind you some stats I used last week, just to sort of cement this. Now, I don't have stats from the Challenge Cup itself, but just look at the league again. Look, Wigan are doing the exact same thing with and without Smith in the squad. It's just with him in, they're doing it so much better. And again, it pains me to say that because Saints at the weekend, they didn't score any points, of course, but they did kind of dominate field position. They were down in Wigan's half so much, but just that bloody kicking prowess with Smith just got them over the line more and more and more. I knew it was his day personally. I think it was about 20 minutes in. Saints had a dropout and he kicked to Lewis Murphy. I think the commentators even said as he struck it, he's misstruck that. But you could now he just put a little bit of spin on it. Murphy had dropped the ball a couple of times at that point, and you knew then he was just stealing pressure from Saints. He was almost like judoing him, using their own pressure against them. Harry Smith's back. He might be the missing piece. Who knows when French comes back? Maybe it's their year once more. Number two, too many cooks at St Helens. Obviously, the only thing for Saints worse than getting nilled is getting nilled by Wigan. The only thing worse than that is getting nilled in a Challenge Cup semi-final. So it was a terrible day at the office for Saints on Saturday. And for me, it comes down to too many cooks at Saints. What do I mean by that? Well, in the 17-man squad on Saturday, Saints had 6 genuine last tackle option players. 6 potential players who can direct that attacking play on the last tackle. We got Wellesby, Saylor, Lomax, Clark, Shorrocks, and Hastings. And I'm going to give an honourable mention to Whitby, who was named in the 21 man. I'm not sure he was in the 17. And McDonald, who was also on that list as well. So there's so many players at Saints now that can do so many good things that, in fact, on Saturday, no one did anything. No one had any ideas because I guess maybe they were worried about stepping on toes, they were worried about ruining something. But honestly, I don't think Saints ended a set well, other than Darrell Clark crashing over the line for that disallowed try. Saints didn't really do anything in terms of attack. They dominated field position, yes. That bit was good, but they did that through defence, not through attack. Too many cooks at Wigan. Now, serial sad sack and dental hygiene enthusiast Matty Pete at the weekend, after this game, in a sort of uncharacteristic outburst from him, criticised Saints' identity. And he was kind of pointing at the Bill Leyland thing, because that obviously hurt his feelings a few weeks ago, saying that Saints have lost their identity. Now, I really don't want to agree with Matty Pete, but I do think that Saints have probably taken a step away from their identity, which to me is a really strong middle with a couple of creative halves and everybody sort of slotting around the back of it. For me, too many cooks. Saints have got a couple of sort of off weeks coming up. I would use this opportunity if I was Paul Rowley. Rest a couple of players, rest Sailor, see what Wellesby does on his own. You know, give Shorrocks that sort of, all right, Joe, I want you to show me exactly what you've got this week. You're in charge. You know, try a few things out, because if you're leaving the players to their own devices and letting them sort it out themselves, it ain't working. Too many cooks at Saints. It's bloody embarrassing showdown. All right, number 3. The Robins rampage on. I made a bold statement last week. I said that the Wire had 10 minutes to win that game on Sunday. It took them a little bit longer than that, but they lost it about 20 minutes in. There was a point in the game where I sort of knew, really, they weren't going to claw it back. It was Mark Sneed is passing the ball out to Toby King, and Sam Stone's just sort of in the way. He's just there. And personally, I think that was Sneed's fault. But nevertheless, the ball hits the ground, Warrington lose possession, and Sneed is bollocking his players. And I just thought, man, they've bloody done it again, haven't they? Because, again, the Robins this year, again, these are league stats, not cup stats. They've, on average, scored in the first 10 minutes in every single game. 9 games, 9 tries in the first 10 minutes, and they did it again at the weekend. They haven't conceded yet within the first 10 minutes, and the success just kind of carries on throughout the game. So they're just punishing these teams, and by 20 minutes on Saturday, Wyatt were just done. And that allowed the Robins to kind of play a little bit fast and loose, didn't it? You know, we had the sort of Bentley, Mikey Lewis fun going on, a couple of wind-ups. So Robins are on foot. Look, it's working for him. It's absolutely working for him. Get in there, punish teams early, destroy their morale, and claim the game. I think the thing that probably did it for Warrington as well, without focusing on them too much, is that the first try, that bachelor try, I don't even think he was running. He literally just walked over the line for that one. All right. Word on Warrington, because I've just sort of said a couple of what might appear to be disparaging things about Warrington. You know, traditionally, and even this year, they have lost their heads a little bit. And I would point to the Huddersfield match where they just sort of gave up in the second half. They'd already won, of course, but they just gave up. The Catalans game where they just really gave up. No one was arsed. I think there was a point where Sexton scored a try and Danny Walker literally just watched him cross the line. That didn't happen at the weekend. In fact, defensively, they were actually really, really good. They just couldn't quite put it together. I think after that 20-minute inflection point, like I say, a lot of Warrington's attacking efforts were kind of solo efforts, relying on single players. When you've got a general like Mark Sneed at the helm, really you can start to put players on. You can think about doing creative stuff. The area that they didn't let down is in defence, and I think a lot of this goes to Josh Thewlis, the fullback, the standing fullback, who's just absolutely nailed every opportunity he got. For me, if I was Sam Burgess right now, I'd be saying, right, look, we can't lose our heads. We haven't lost our heads. We didn't lose our heads in the first 7 rounds. We're not going to do it from now on. So, Thewlis, even if Taylor Ray comes back, you are our fullback. Own that role. Take it. Irwin, Williams is out for the year now. It's no option. You are the standoff. Take it. Give these players these responsibilities, and kind of like I'm saying at Saints, they'll start to play with more and more confidence and start to do more great stuff. I think Warrington's scramble at the weekend in defence showed that they can be up there. You know, we had 4 teams in this semi-final at the weekend. It was 4 of the best, and I think that Warrington are still in that race. The last thing I wanted to point at here is the Captain's Challenge Cup. And it was sort of alluded to by Sam Burgess after the game. Just pointing at the Sunday game, right? Almost 8 minutes of the second half was spent in Captain's Challenges. That's 20% of the half was spent just reviewing what had happened. A lot of these are for ball steals, right? And it makes sense, because a ball steal is a big moment of a game. It's either you lose the ball and give away a tactical position in a scrum, or you get a penalty and you gain loads of meters. And a ball steal should really be quite an easy thing to figure out. I think 2 of the captains, the first 2 challenges for ball steals at the weekend were inconclusive, which meant that Chris Kendall looked at every single camera in the stadium for 2.5 minutes at one point and couldn't decide whether or not a player holding onto a ball held onto it or did this. Did he hold onto it or did he rip it? And he couldn't decide, meaning that the result of the Captain's Challenge was nothing. They still get the scrum, and you still keep your challenge. It had no effect on the game other than to suck all the pressure, all the momentum, all the fatigue out of the game. And I hate to agree with Sam. Do I hate to agree with Sam? No, probably not. It is kind of ruining the game. I'm a fan of the Captain's Challenge, but I think there does need to be some handbrakes put on it. Time limits, review limits. I don't know. It needs to change. All right. That's it. That's the semis. Wigan and the Robins continue on to the final. Probably 2 teams that no one's surprised to see in the final down at Wembley. Everybody else gets a week off and gets to enjoy it. What were your lessons from the Challenge Cup semi-finals? Do you like the Captain's Challenge? Is it Wyre's year after all? Let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and tune in for my previews later in the week.